Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to show you the possibilities of the control box and the settings you can change. And we start right from the beginning. We turn the control box on. You see the normal messages that come at start. So we first, before we can do anything, we have to home the carriage just to be safe. So we press select and wait for the moment the carriage has returned and the box will be ready to be used. The homing speed, by the way, is always the same and fixed. It is not connected with the running speed, which you see here. So, that are the normal conditions when you start. Maybe your row count is different because the box will save the row numbers you set up before you turn it off. Some values are saved. So, to enter the menu, you have to press and hold the up button. And now you're in the menu. Just for your information, you see, if we wait a moment, then the menu returns to the normal processing mode. So you don't have to leave the menu actively. You can simply change your settings, whatever you want to do, and wait 5 seconds and it returns to normal processing. That's the reason why I will sometimes hit the menu buttons unnecessary, you might think, because I'm describing a function and I don't want the menu to close. So please keep that in mind. We hold the up button, enter the menu. Set row count. That's the place where you have to set up the number of rows you want to knit. So how do we do that? If the menu shows this, you press select. Then there's a small arrow. And with up and down, you're able to set up row numbers. Okay, let's say 25 rows is fine for us. We press select. And when the menu has returned to processing, you see that there are 25 rows we can knit. You can change this at any time. Not while the carriage is running, okay, but you can change this anytime you want. So if you say, oh, 25 was wrong, I have 28, enter the menu, hit select, change the value, and you're good to go. Then, what do we have next? Next, we have boundaries. So what's boundaries? We have a left, a right boundary, and we have a function to clear the boundaries. So what's doing with boundaries? I hit it and you will see what's happening. This is more described in detail in another video, so I just make a short introduction to this. You can set up values to limit the range the carriage moves. It does not have to move always the whole bed up or down. So you can set up limit values. In short, you select the left boundary. If there's no boundary set, the carriage goes to the middle of the bed, and then you can adjust via the left or the right button its position. If you're happy, you press select again, the arrow goes away, the value is set, you go to right boundary if you want, or you don't have to. You can just set a left boundary and leave the right boundary as is. But let's say we want to set a right boundary additionally. We press select again. The carriage moved the short way to the middle of the bed. Now we set a more distinct position for the right boundary. Let's say this is okay. We set it up, we press select, and that's it. And now the carriage will move only between those two positions. I'll show you for demonstration. Left position, right position. If you want to clear that, and you see, you get additional symbols in the display. These two small brackets show that there are boundaries set, left and right. If you did not set one of them, then the according bracket is left out. So there don't have to be always two brackets. There can also only be one if you only set one limit. So how do we clear that? Again, we enter the menu, and the menu always returns to the last point we have set up. So don't think about why it does not start at the beginning. It just returns where you left. So we check clear boundaries, hold the select button, boundaries cleared, you let go, and the boundaries are gone. So what do we have next? Next is the Tools menu. The Tools menu is just for convenience. There is an extra menu point where you can home the carriage again in case of a blockage, or if something terribly wrong happened, you can simply rehome the carriage. Then you have the possibility to move the box to the start point, or to the middle of the bed, or to the end point, so to say the max. This menu, the Tools menu, is the only way to move the carriage explicitly to the middle of the bed. The other two things, moving it to the max or to the to the zero position, is also possible by holding those two buttons, left and right. If you hold the left button, the carriage will move to the far left, and if you hold the right button, then the carriage will move back. Those two buttons will reflect any boundaries you set up. So if you press and hold the left button while a left boundary is set up, it first moves to the left boundary. If you then press and hold the button again, then the carriage will move to the max. Under normal conditions, if you short press the button, you can move the carriage in very small amounts to the left, or additionally to the right. That's also possible. We go to the menu again, and that's all for the Tools menu. You see we have home, start, middle, end, and then we come back out of this submenu. The next menu is settings, and there we have some really interesting things. And I think I have to explain them a little bit more detailed. So operation mode. What's operation mode? Operation mode is, you have two values, the operation mode auto and operation mode manual. So what's auto? Auto is what we saw the whole time. So you set up a decent number of rows you want to knit, and if you press the foot pedal, or you press and hold for continuous knitting the select button, the carriage will start to move left and right and knit and knit and knit and knit, as long as there are rows set up to knit. If there are 0 rows left, then the carriage will stop. It won't knit any further. That is auto mode. If you set it to manual mode, then the following will happen. We leave the menu. You see there are many options. Then the display will change slightly. You see the text changed. There is rows knitted, and the display shows 0 rows. In this mode, you can knit as long as you want, and the machine will only count the knitted rows. This is not only true for manual knitting via the foot pedal, this is also true for continuous knitting. In theory, and this is also the max of the box, you could knit 999 rows consecutively. Yes, this mode is only for counting rows and nothing more. You can set up boundaries, all the things you saw until now, but the machine will knit and knit and knit and knit. So that's manual mode. Let's stop the whole thing by pressing the foot pedal. I don't use this mode as much as the other one because I really like to set up a decent number of rows and the machine knits, and I don't have to worry if I count it right or if everything's okay. But that's totally up to you. So I reset that mode to auto. And by the way, you can correct the number of rows. Why? So if you use this as your main row counter, then there are possibilities that you have to manually re-knit one row, or that something went terribly wrong and you have to manipulate anything manually, and then the row counter won't be correct. Then you have the possibility to correct this and say, oh, I knitted 2 rows, but there were the machine counted 9, but we are now in row 11. Then you can correct this, and you will see in the front now 11 rows. So the machine accounts for that. And also, if you turn the machine off and on again, the 11 and the mode is saved and everything's fine. Only if you change the mode, in case you change the mode, then the row numbers will be reset. What we'll do now. So, tools, settings, operation mode, auto. That's it. What do we have next? Foot pedal mode. We have foot pedal mode single and continuous. This is easy. Single mode, you have seen single mode. You press the foot pedal, it knits one single row. If you set this up to continuous, then the foot pedal can start continuous knitting. You could, in theory, knit one row even if the foot pedal is set up in continuous knitting. That is, you start continuous knitting with the foot pedal, and a second or 2 seconds later you hit the foot pedal again and continuous knitting will stop again. But in this case you would have to press the foot pedal 2 times in a short time distance to start continuous knitting, stop continuous knitting, to knit one single row. So it's totally up to you if you want to have the pedal working the one way or the other. So I like single. I set it up for single mode. So next point. Navigation mode. Boundary or maximum. I told you that it is possible to move the carriage with these 2 buttons in normal processing. If you hold this button, then it first moves the carriage to the left boundary, and if you hold it again, to the max. Or the other button, move it to the right boundary, pressing and holding it again, moving the carriage to the 0 position. If you don't like that, if you want those 2 buttons to always move the carriage to the maximum and the 0 point, regardless of set up boundaries, then you set this to maximum, and the 2 buttons will ignore any boundaries. I like the boundary mode more, so I set this up. Carriage speed. Okay, that's simple. Carriage speed is simply the speed the mover moves the carriage. The RPM value is more or less artificial. It is a bit regarding how this motor drive works, but it's just to have some kind of value you can refer to. So 200 is the max value at the moment. You cannot set it higher, but you could lower it. You could lower it if it is too fast for you. You see, I just wanted to try out max, so I set it up to max speed. Yarn sensor main, that's easy. We talked about the yarn sensor in the introduction video, and yarn sensor main is this side. The right side is the main yarn side, and if you turn this to on, as it is now, these two sensors, the one in the front and the back, will act together as the yarn sensor main. The reason why I left the rubber band here is at the moment there's no yarn in the system, and if this lever is hanging down, then this would be a signal for the system there is no yarn anymore. So just that we can operate the box as usual, I put the rubber band on. Under normal conditions, the yarn would run in here on the top here, and then through this small gap, and will hold the lever up. And you can imagine if the yarn runs out, the lever will drop, and that will account for yarn run out. So this is yarn sensor main on. You can turn it off. If there's something with this sensor, or it is not working correctly, or whatever, then you can turn it off. I leave it on for me. The same is for the secondary side. In my case, it is off, because I'm not using secondary yarn as often as other people. Secondary is simply the left side for the second yarn thread. So this is the sensor. So, and you see, you do not have to use a yarn sensor at all. You could set it up like this, then we have yarn sensor main off and secondary off, and that's it. And that's the reason why yarn sensor is declared as optional in the operation manual. You do not have to use this. Then next we have the overload sensor. What's the overload sensor? We did not talk about the overload sensor yet. We come back later. I think I'll show you. I'll try to show you. I'm returning to our normal operations and drive the carriage to 0. That's all for demonstrational purpose. It's nothing you would do under normal conditions. So I decouple the carriage because that makes showing the whole thing easier. So let's say unit. Then suddenly here something occurs and the carriage is blocked. Then the machine should stop. It shouldn't knit any further or produce any weird things. The machine is very strong and it shouldn't damage anything. So we have at first the mechanical coupler. The mechanical coupler is this thing in combination with this piece and the plate and this coupling bolt. This coupling bolt will go through this area here, and if the carriage blocks, then it will the mover will try to move further, but the carriage blocks. That would lead to the fact that the bolt tries to turn this. You see, I could not show it better. It will turn this element and disconnect the carriage from the mover, and the mover will be able to move along on its own without damaging anything. Additionally to this mechanical coupling, there is a small switch on the back that reacts on this happening. Don't know how to say. It reacts if this is turned. If this is turned, then this lever here goes up. There's the spring, and if this goes up enough, then I don't know if you can hear that. There's a small switch, and this switch opens and shows the system there's something terribly wrong, and the whole motor stops. So this is the overload sensor. You can deactivate it if you want. If there's something wrong or it is not set up correct or whatever, then you can disable this sensor. That is overload sensor. I go to the settings menu and show you the menu point. This is yarn sensor. There's overload sensor. We can deactivate overload sensor, and then only the mechanical coupling will prevent you from any damage. The motor will still run and run and run, and if you set it up to continuous knitting, then this carriage will, regardless of the connection between the two, run left, right, and you have to stop it manually. The overload sensor will do it for you if you leave it on. That's for this. What do we have next? Direction arrow show. You have seen the small arrow and the small symbols here on the right side while the whole system's running. And you have seen that the symbols stay on the screen even when the carriage has stopped. This is meant by show here. You can set it to hide, and then the whole symbols will disappear as long as the carriage is not moving. But I leave it on most of the time. What have we then? Button beep. Button beep is for sure. No, you see, nothing's beeping. If you don't like button beep, or you turn it on, and the machine, the box beeps again. Beep beep. Alarm tune. You see, when you set up a rows and rows are done, the box will play a little tune. And that is the menu point where you can set up different songs. So you select it, then you get a preview. Then you can press the down button, and it will play another melody. There are about 30 melodies you can choose from, so choose the one you like the most. And as usual, to edit a menu point, to edit a setup position, hit select, the small arrow appears. If you're happy with that, press select again. The next is display backlight. I'll show you, you can reduce the backlight to a decent amount. Let's try it with 33%. The main problem is on the video, the display may begin to flicker. So I usually don't reduce the backlight, but let's have a try. So, and that's all for the settings menu. Then we go back to the one menu up. Then we have info as menu point left. So this is only showing you the firmware version. If you have any problems, then it's always nice to know which firmware version is currently running on your box. And we have reset all. Reset all is factory reset, so the box will be set up with the default values I chose when I packed the firmware. And then we have exit. So, and with exit, you always get back to the normal processing mode. This is the same. If you're in the menu, you can wait 5 seconds and then you return to processing mode. Or if you don't want to wait as long as 5 seconds, you can simply press and hold the down button, exit. I assume pressing and holding the down button is also about 5 seconds. But if you're in a sub-menu, for instance, setting boundaries or so, and you want to return, then there are really many button hits you have to do to go back. So it is easier to just wait 5 seconds and have the menu return on its own. So I think that's all for now. That should be it for the box features. You see, the display is beginning to flicker. That's what I said regarding LCD backlight on the video. We change it. Again, I don't like this flickering. We up the backlight. So, and all the settings you set up here are saved when you turn the machine off, so you don't have to worry if you lose anything. So, that's it for now. Many thanks for watching. It was a very long video, but I think it was worth it to describe every single menu point. Additionally to the operation manual. So you can read about every little thing I said again in the operation manual, but sometimes watching is easier than reading, as we all know. So have a nice day and stay tuned. Bye.